Okay, let's make this Christmas tree. So first thing, I'm gonna make an Xpresso Christmas tree, so it's interesting. First, let's get the cone. Cone. This will be what our Christmas tree is made of. And we're gonna increase the top radius, and we're gonna reduce the height. And then we're gonna control click and drag it up. We're gonna have two cones. This is gonna be bottom cone, and this is gonna be top cone. And our bottom cone the height will be the same, but the radiuses will be different. So let's get this. Let's make an Xpresso. Let's make a node null. Call this Xpresso, and let's right click C4D. You should can't see it. Anyway, at the end there is Xpresso, and now we have an Xpresso window here. Okay, let's drag both these cones into here. Let's get our bottom cone, top cone. So we got our bottom cone, we got a height parameter, and we want to feed it into the top cone. So let's go object, properties, height, and click and drag into the little blue circle and go object properties, height. Now if we change the height of this one, they both change at the same time. But we can still change these independently. And here we can't change the height of stuff because it's controlled by the bottom cone. So now we're going to get a MoGraph cloner, and we're going to put these two clones into it. My cloner by default has where is this offset? Has this set to 0. So here your probably doesn't. So move it up, and maybe we can increase the count. As you can see right now, we're getting these seems random, but that's not what we're after. What we want is we want to change this clones from iterate to blend. And now as you can see, it blends from one cone to the other. We can also change the order so it blends in the right direction. So now if we have the bottom cone and we increase its radius to like wide, it will blend in. And same thing with the top radius. And if we have the top cone, we can also play with the bottom radius and the top radius, and it'll blend them together. So now we want the height of this cloner to be automatic. So let's get our Xpresso node again. Let's drag our cloner in here. Let's call this tree section cloner. And let's move them out. And we want this here. We want this parameter here is py to be the height of this thing. So let's click and drag on the blue thing. Let's go object properties. Hold on, let's move this up here so we can see what we're doing. Click and drag, object properties, py. And ta-da! So now if we change the height of our bottom clone, see, they still stay connected. Now, however, we have a problem here. The bottom kind of also squashes. So if we have like a ground plane, it's not really functional. So what do? Well, let's place this section cloner into the Xpresso object. Let's call this Christmas tree. And now we want this cloner to be positioned off the bottom, like from the original position of this cloner. We want it to be offset by half the height of one of these cylinders. So let's get our Xpresso. Our bottom cone, we have the height. We have our section cloner here. So let's, here, as you can see, I already have it set up. But if you go to Xpool, it's usually Xmanager, go to Xpool, press the little button here, and you will see that there's a search function. So you type in math, and you add it. It's the math add. Also, you can right click and go new node, Xpresso, calculate, math, depending on which version of Xpresso you're running. So we have this add, and we're going to change this from add here in the properties here, and we're going to change the function to divide. And input 2 will be 2, and input 1 will be the height. And now this output that we get in the end will be the position y, so coordinates, position y of our corner. And there you have it. See? So if we get our bottom cone, we can now change its height, or from here, and that moves the whole thing, and it stays stuck to the bottom of the floor. Nifty, right? Okay, next step. We want an end, we want a tip of the tree. Let's copy this top cone, Control-C, Control-V. Let's plug it into our Christmas tree. Let's get our Xpresso node out again. Let's call this tip cone. You see, let's drag it in, and the height of this tip cone will be the overall the sum of these. So what we need is we need the number of clones, so object properties count, and we need their height. So actually we can just use the height from our bottom cone. So, and we need a math add again, and we need to change the math add to multiply, and let's drag the height of the bottom cone to the number of the clones, and let's drag this into the position object property, no, coordinates, position y. Now as you can see, it's not actually, if we scale this cone down, as you can see, it's actually only halfway because the axis is in the center of this cone. So what we need to do is we need to add half the cone height. So we're going to need to clone this tip cone, control click and drag it, so we have two of them. And we're going to need to, let's move this out here, double click this. We're going to need to add, so we need another math add node. We're going to go, actually we need to divide as well. So let's make this function divide by 2. Oops, 2. So this will be our object properties height. Drag it in here. And now we need a math add where we add this output with half the height of the tip cone, and we plug it into the position of the tip cone. Oops. There we go. And now it's in the right place. And let's make the tip cone obviously different. So top radius will be 0. And let's make its height longer and bottom radius. Now as you can see, we can change the height of the bottom cone. So we can change the height down. And the tip cone still says the same. I find that when designing a Christmas tree, that's kind of useful. So let's make a green material and stick it on here. Material, green, no yellow, just onto a Christmas tree, so that they're all the same color. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to hook up a bit of controllers so that we can control this without going into the settings. So we're going to add a little circle, and we're going to change its plane to XZ and move this guy up here. And this will be our tree height controller. Let's put into our Christmas tree object. And we do this so that we can move the Christmas tree object and everything moves together. So let's get our Xpresso again. Just up to the side here. Now our tree height object will control the number of clones. So what we need is we need this guy's position, so coordinates, position y, this guy's position, to affect the number of clones in the section clone. So let's go object properties count. And we do that by dividing the position of this tree height by the height of each clone. So let's add another math add. Let's change this mode to divide. And let's plug in, so we have the height, which is the total distance from this to the bottom of the null here. And we want to divide it by the height of each clone. And we want to pipe that into the count. See, there's no change, but now if we grab this thing, nice, right? We can control the size of our tree very easily. We can just grab this thing and go big tree, small tree. Very useful, right? Let's just make it a bit smaller, and let's change its tip height, basic color on. Just make a nice blue color here. There we go. So we can just grab it and we can move it around. Okay, next step. I want to control the height of each section. So let's make a little endgong here. There's our endgong. And sided. And let's also object, let's change it to XZ. Just move it up to about the height of one of these. Let's get our Christmas tree, oops, Xpresso. This thing is going to be called height segment. Oops, height. Okay. Put it in our Christmas tree. Drag it into our Xpresso. And this thing, this is coordinates position Y, will control our bottom cone height. So object properties height, and drag it in there. Drag. Good. So now we can move it up, and it makes the section smaller or bigger while keeping the height of the tree consistent. Fancy, right? So we have our tree pretty much ready to go. Let's make the sections a bit bigger. We still need to go into cone sometimes to change the size of. Seems about right. Let's change the tip cone height, lower it down a bit. That looks nice. Oh yes, of course. Wait, let's change this also. Change this color. I forgot the tree stump, but let's change this color to on. Let's make it nice hot orange color. We need a tree stump. So let's copy this tip clone. Let's call this stump. Let's give it a brown material. Brown. But I double click here to make new materials. And let's move this guy down here. And let's make his top radius object, top radius, give him some radius. So, and some bottom radius too. Okay, now we want this tree stump to always be in the right place. So when I change the height, it changes correctly. So let's go back to our Xpresso. Let's get our stump. So this stump's position, its coordinates object, its coordinates position Y will be the same, will be half its height. So we need to control click the stump, double click here because we need it, and we need object properties and height. Control click and drag. And we need a math add node to divide this in half. So math add, divide by 2, plug the height in the top one, plug this into the position, and now our stump, we can change its height. Good. Now we need to move all these cloner objects, we need to move it up the height of the stump so that the tree sits on top of the stump. So let's get our Xpresso again. So we have the stump height here. We have our cloner, section cloner, and we have its position. Here, let's stretch this thing out. Position Y. And it's being fed in from this thing here. So we're going to need to add a math node. We're going to need to get this height. And we're going to need to get this output here, which was feeding into our position Y before. Disconnect this. And now this output will be fed into our position Y of the section cloner. And there we have it. However, now we have a slight problem because now the top of the tree doesn't stick with our sting anymore. So to fix that, we get our tip clone, we go back to our Xpresso, spread it out a bit. Where's our tip clone? We need to add another math add node, and we have the output here, and we have our, where is it? Oops. So we have our tip cone, we have a math add node, and we need to add the height of stump. So there it is. Let's drag it in here, and let's drag this into the position Y. Ta-da! It works. So now when we move our stump height, everything moves together. Brilliant. Except these little controllers. We're gonna need to make an adjustment to them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a null, another null. Here it is, null, and let's call it control adjust. We're gonna move it in here. I'm gonna put these two objects, control adjust. Yes, we're gonna put these two objects into our control adjust, and we're gonna move this control. We're gonna get our Xpresso. Now control adjust. Its position Y, coordinates position Y, will be the same as the stump height. So again, we'll move here. And now as you can see, our control adjust is always the height of the stump. So if the stump moves, the controllers adjust with it. And now we can go back to adjusting them as we did before. Nifty, right? Okay, that's awesome. So we have our stump, and we have a dynamic tree, and we can control this height here. It's great, right? I'm very proud of this invention. Now, let's get a bit to aesthetics. I'll split this up into two parts. So we got our functionality of our dynamic Christmas tree done. See you in the next part. Okay, now let's make this slightly prettier. Firstly, let's select all our cones, control click them all, go attributes, caps, and let's fillet both top and bottom. That might not be the correct exactly thing, but let's just select the top and bottom caps of the tree. Let's reduce the radius here. Play with this until we get something we want. I think that's nice. Now the tip cone, the bottom is a bit too much there. That looks better. And the top, let's increase the radius here. And now caps. Yep, that looks better. Okay, good. And the stump probably needs a bit of adjustment too. And definitely better. Okay, good. Now, I want to apply a snow material, kind of half snow, half green. So let's go material. Let's go color. Let's change this to gradient. Change this to 2D UV. Let's expand this. Interpolation none. There we go. Let's invert knots. Let's move it here. Okay. Now this will be a green color. Green. Green. And this will be a white color. And let's throw up the turbulence here. Okay, let's move the green up a bit. Nice, nice. Maybe reduce the octaves of this to maybe like 2. There we go. Let's increase the scale. That's about right. Now to see how it's all the same here. So we go section cloner, Mogra, effector, random. Let's put it inside just put it next to the tips. Attributes, obviously we don't need to have the position being random. We just need the rotation to be random, the H rotation. And there you have it. I mean, if you want, you can adjust the scales, make them random, but not really what we're after. Good. So we call this ran rotation. Okay, sweet. Now let's go back to our material here. Let's add some displacement. Actually, first let's go. See, we have this little white at the top, which I don't like. So let's get this material here and let's change its length U. No, length V. Okay, so let's just increase it to like 110, and then offset V. Let's pull it up a bit. There we go. Good. Now back to our material. Double click here so we can see it. Turn on displacement. Go to color. Get this thing and drag it across and plug it in there. As you can see, we're kind of nearly getting the effect we want. Let's change this to black. Let's change the interpolation to smooth knot. Let's move this guy up a bit. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. Anyway, for now, let's just move it up. We just need it smooth. So 5 centimeters. Turn on subpolygon displacement, and let's hit render. That's not quite wrong. Let's turn on round geometry. That's much better. The thing is, we want to change this intensity from centered to regular. So we'll hit render. There we go. Now it's not affecting the size of the green cone. Now, as you can see, the white material there is kind of flowing off. So what we want to do is we want to go to our here, and we want to drag all of this a bit down. Let's hit render. Oops, no, that's totally the wrong direction. Undo this. Let's drag it a bit up. And let's hit render. It's still not quite right. Okay. Hit render. We got too much white, so we need to reduce. So let's just drag the black in a bit. Nope. Let's drag the white in a bit. No, let's keep it. I like it smooth. Let's just go to our color channel and let's move this green a bit in. And hit render. Much better. That's exactly what I was going for. I mean, there's some lumps, but it's pretty close overall. So we have a nice little snow. Let's get our stock material. Actually, no, let's go back to our green. I like to add gradients to everything in case you don't know. So I'm going to click here. And I'm going to make this a darker green. It's not quite the effect that I want. So let's change this back to smooth knots. Let's control click and drag this white thing all the way up so it's nice and close to this. And now we have the dark kind of green fading in here. Maybe it's too dark. We just want it to be a very slight gradient. Just tiny. There we go. Okay, I like that. Now where's our brown stump material? Let's go gradient. Change it to 2dV. Let's delete the white color for now. Let's go plug in our brown material. Control click. Lighter brown. Wonderful. Exactly what we want. You know what? I want to make this stump, the bottom radius, a bit more rounded. Much better. Okay. So we have our Christmas tree. Don't forget to save it. Tree 02. Okay, now we can copy and paste it, and we can open our recent. Here's our Snowman 06. Okay, there we have it. We open our Snowman from the last time. Hit render just to make sure it's all good. Sweet, our Snowman's good. Now let's go Control V. We paste our tree in. Let's move the tree back a bit. Seems to be close. Let's control click and drag it, so we have another 2 trees. There you go. And we can, if we want, we can make this one a bit smaller. We can make these sections a bit. And this one can also do something a bit smaller. And there we have it. We have a couple of trees. Let's move this tree in a bit. Let's hit the render. I think that green is a bit way too intense. So let's go to our material. Let's make this into a layer. Let's add effect and brightness contrast. Let's reduce the brightness a bit. And maybe effect, saturation a bit too. Maybe like this. And hit render. And we have our snowman scene. So we move the camera a bit. Let's get these trees. And let's hit render. And there we have it. Our nice little snowman scene. You know, if you want, you can make the white of the snow a bit less white because it seems a bit too intense right now. So let's go to our color here. We don't need that one, just need the white here. And let's make it a bit darker, maybe like 89%. Much better. So, ta-da! Snowman. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave comments, check out my website, and be a good sport. Have fun.